Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you guys my September TBR. This is gonna be a pretty casual and should be a short video because I don't have many books in my TBR stack. I'm not really planning on doing any readathons or anything like that this month. Also, the day that I'm filming this today is Wednesday, Wednesday, August 26th, and there is a Hurricane Laura, that is getting ready to make landfall in the next few hours. Now, I live in the New Orleans area, which is like the east side of Louisiana, and luckily for us, Hurricane Laura is going to make landfall around the Louisiana-Texas state line. So more like southwestern Louisiana into Texas is the area that's going to be under fire, so to say. So I am praying for them. Lake Charles is supposed to get it really bad. There's going to be a lot of storm surge and things like that, although we are going to feel some effects here. So yeah, I'm praying for them right now. Hurricane Laura is a very strong Category 4 hurricane, so it is going to be very devastating for the area that it mainly hits. This is also a ginormous storm, so it's not just that area that's going to be affected, of course. So if anyone that is watching this is from the affected area, please know that I am praying for you and sending you positive vibes. Yeah, I'm really hoping that it's not as bad as they say it's going to be, but unfortunately we will just kind of have to wait and see. I'm thinking that September is going to be a very like mood reading kind of month. When I was coming up with this TBR, there just weren't a ton of books that were popping into my head as books that like I had to get done in September or anything like that. These are just books that either the loan from my library is coming in soon, like for the audiobooks, or they're books that just sounded really good to me. So without further ado, let's just actually get into the stack of books. So first I have two historical romances. This has become kind of a tradition on my channel that every monthly TBR I include at least two historical romances because I bought so many in March and April of this year, so I do want to try to get through as many as possible. So the first one on this TBR is When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare. You all know how much I adore this author. I did recently do a historical romance recommendations video. I will link that up in the cards above if any of you are interested, but I talked quite a bit about Tessa Dare, especially her Girl Meets Duke series, which is her most recent book series. But I've been slowly working through her Castles Ever After series, which is a series of 4 books that she published with Avon. And this is the third book in that series. You definitely don't need to read this series in order because none of the books have anything to do with each other except for the idea of each of the heroines being left a castle in someone's will. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the blurb on the back. It says, on the cusp of her first London season, Miss Madeline Gracechurch was shy, pretty, and talented with a drawing pencil, but hopelessly awkward with gentlemen. She was certain to be a dismal failure on the London marriage mart. The Maddie did what generations of shy, awkward young ladies have done. She invented a sweetheart. A Scottish sweetheart, one who was handsome and honorable and devoted to her, but conveniently never around. And the plot goes on from there, but I don't want to really spoil anything for myself or you guys. I'm really pumped for this one because a lot of romance booktubers that I follow absolutely adore this book specifically of the Castles Ever After series. Yeah, I'm definitely really pumped about this one. Also, this has a gorgeous step back. Don't know how well you can see, but yes, I love step back art and cover art and all of that. So then the next historical romance I have is The Beast of Beswick by Amelie Howard. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. You guys know by now how much I adore Beauty and the Beast retellings, but I actually just watched a video from Brie from In Love and Words. That's her channel. I'll link her channel up in the cards above, and she very recently read this book and absolutely adored it and gave it 5 stars. So I'm even more excited to read this now. But I'm just going to read a little bit of what it says on the back. It says, Lord Nathaniel Hart, the disagreeable Duke of Beswick, spends his days smashing porcelain, antagonizing his servants, and snarling at anyone who gets too close. Sound familiar? With a ruined face like his, it's hard to like much about the world, especially smart-mouthed harpies with lips better suited to kissing than speaking, who brave his castle with indecent proposals. That sounds really great, and of course sounds very close to the Beauty and the Beast story that we all know and love. And what Brie really loved about this book is that the hero is actually really scarred. It's not like he just has one scar on like his cheek or anything like that. Like, I think his entire face is pretty scarred, and obviously that affects him a lot. So yeah, I'm really excited about this book. So that's it for the historical romances. Then I have two nonfiction books that I'm really looking forward to getting to, and these two specifically, the loans are coming in really soon from Libby for the audiobooks. So the first one is How to Be Less Stupid About Race by Crystal M. Fleming. From what I understand, this sounds very similar to So You Want to Talk About Race by Ajoma Aluo, so I'm assuming that it's going to cover similar topics. Whether at the family dinner table or as a result of events in the news, conversations about race are deeply relevant to our lives. And as much as we would rather not admit it, we all struggle with racial stupidity. Combining social critique, humorous personal anecdotes, and the latest scholarship on systemic racism, Crystal M. Fleming provides a fresh and irreverent take on everything that's wrong with our national conversation about race by breaking down the misconceptions that corrupt how race is represented. This sounds like the perfect book for me, because I have been educating myself a lot about race and racial issues, not only in our country, but around the world recently. I've been reading a lot of amazing nonfiction resources, but this one in particular sounds amazing because even with all of the education that I have given myself, I still feel really stupid talking to other people about race, especially talking to other white people about race and trying to educate them. So I think that this sounds like the perfect book for me. And then the other nonfiction book I have is Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mickey Kendall. This is another book that a lot of people have been reading recently and absolutely adoring. So on the inside it says, today's feminist movement has a glaring blind spot, and paradoxically it is women. Mainstream feminists rarely discuss meeting basic needs as a feminist issue, argues Mickey Kendall, but food security, access to quality education, safe neighborhoods, a living wage, and medical care are all feminist issues. All too often, the focus is not on basic survival for the many. Instead, it is on increasing privilege for the few. So that sounds absolutely incredible. I know Riley from Riley Marie read this recently and really enjoyed it. Also, I saw that she recently subscribed to my channel. So Riley, if you're watching this, hi. So yes, I'm really looking forward to educating myself more about feminism and things like that, because that's definitely another issue that I feel stupid talking about sometimes. So yeah, I think that book will help me a lot. Next, I have 3 books of a series that I really want to get to. This is the first 3 books in the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead. So we have the first book, which is called Bloodlines, of course. Then the second book is The Golden Lily. And the third book is The Indigo Spell. This is a series of 6 books, and it's a spin-off of the Vampire Academy series, which is a series of books that I read last year. I want to say around the same time, like September, October, because with vampire books, I like to read paranormal books in October and around that time. So yes, this series centers around Sydney, I believe is her name, and she was kind of a minor character in Vampire Academy, like towards the end of that series. I want to say she was introduced in the 4th book of that series. I think Adrian from the Vampire Academy series is also a major character in this series, so that sounds really exciting. I've heard really great things about this series as a whole. A lot of people say that this series is even better than Vampire Academy, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what I think of these first 3 books. Alright, I have just 2 books left in this stack. The next one is Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. So I read Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett, I want to say over a year ago at this point, and I loved it so much. I think I almost gave it 5 stars. She writes YA contemporary romance novels, but I just haven't picked up another one of her books since, so I thought that September would be the perfect month to do so. And so I decided to pick up this book specifically because I have Serious Moonlight on my shelves as well, but that's a much more recent release than this one, so I thought that I would kind of read her books in chronological publication order. So this one, it says, the one guy Bailey Rydell can't stand is actually the boy of her dreams. She just doesn't know it yet. I think this plot is similar to the movie You've Got Mail. So it says, classic movie fan Bailey Rydell has spent months crushing on a witty film geek she only knows online as Alex. Two coasts separate the teens until Bailey moves in with her dad, who lives in the same California surfing town as her online crush. Faced with doubts, what if he's a creep in real life, or worse, Bailey doesn't tell Alex she's moved to his hometown or that she's landed a job at the local tourist trap museum. Oh yeah, that sounds really good, and like I said, it does remind me a lot of You've Got Mail and similar books and movies with this kind of plot. So I'm really looking forward to this. I know a lot of people that love Jen Bennett really enjoy this book. So last but certainly not least, we have Marriage for One by Ella Mays. If you guys have been following me for a long time, since January, you might recall that I read this book at the very beginning of the year, and it was kind of as a part of the week-long smuttathon that was going on at the time. But I gave this book 4 stars at the time. I really enjoyed it, but this book does take quite a turn that I wasn't expecting and I wasn't prepared for. Unfortunately, that did affect my overall rating and enjoyment of the book, but I enjoyed everything else about this book so much that I knew that I needed to reread it at some point, because I just feel like if I reread this book, I'm going to adore it and give it 5 stars. So this is a romance novel. It's a very chunky book. It's 500 pages. It definitely kind of reminds me of Mariana Zapata's books because she tends to write very slow burn, 500+ page romance novels as well. But this one centers around Jack and Rose, and they even make a joke at the beginning that they were doomed from the start because they have the same names as the main characters from Titanic. But this is a marriage of convenience story. They end up getting married at the very beginning of the book, I think, because Rose needs to be married, I think, to get her inheritance from her uncle. I think that's how that's working. And Jack works at the law firm that is handling his estate and all of that. So that's how the plot of this starts. If you like the sunshine grump trope, I think you would really enjoy this book. Jack is a very brooding hero, and Rose definitely has more of like a pep in her step, whereas he is very serious. So I definitely love that trope. I think it's one of my favorite tropes in romance novels. So I definitely think that I'm going to enjoy this book now more than I did back in January, because like I said, now that I know the turn in the plot that happens, I don't think this is very spoilery because it's something that I would like to know before going into a book. Essentially, Rose starts dealing with health issues towards like the middle end part of the book, and Jack has to take care of her. I just didn't realize that this book was going to be so serious. I went into it kind of assuming it was going to be more of a rom-com than a drama. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this short and casual September TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below if you want to discuss any of the books that I talked about in this video. And of course, I would love it if you would subscribe and press that like button. And I thank you in advance if you do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!